What do you guys think about being black in the industry? Because, there's like no black people in loans, in real estate.
Finance
like our
in general.
office is very small.
Yes. Yes.
I'll let you go first.
Do you feel like extra responsibility at all?
Do I feel extra responsibility?
Like I don't know.
As far as what?
I mean, two different ways. When you're talking to black people, do you feel a little extra push to try to help them out?
Yes and no. Honestly, it depends on, how they receive me. Like I can get somebody on the phone. It's definitely easier to kind of connect, when they're open to it. But you get sometimes you get those black people who are closed. And it's harder.
They give you a harder time.
Yeah, they do. I feel like they might give you a harder time, trying to hear you out. Just hear me out.
Right.
You feel me? If you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it. And I'm going to talk to you. I'm not going to sit there, like I said, I'm not going to sell you. I'm not going to give you these lines. I'm like, all right, if you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it. I understand. But I want to know why don't you want to do it. Tell me why. Help me understand.
And they never
why.
have a good reason when you ask them why.
Like,
that's one of my things. One of my things is that, like, actually in the sales, like, some of these, like, generational curses, like, I hear it coming out of people's mouths.
Yes.
With
let's touch on
fear
that.
of credit is a big one. Like, our experience with credit is, like, super negative. Like, people think having a credit card's bad or having debt or even a mortgage is bad. And it's like, this is reverse as to how society works. Is like real estate is one of the best things to come up because you can borrow 96.5% of an asset worth $300,000.
Correct.
You can't control an asset worth $300,000 in any other industry. You'd need more money to be able to do it. You can go to the bank and get money to buy something worth $300,000, but they're like, you don't own it and stuff like that. And I know where it's coming from. So like that's why we're doing this. Like, a lot of this is to, provide that information in a way that people can understand and, like, relate to, Because the information's out there. It's just that we're not getting the information.
Yeah, as a kid, I was told not to ever get a credit card. Don't get a credit card.
Yeah.
My parents.
Yes, they tried their best, but they definitely set me up for failure. It wasn't until like my mid-20s I started caring about my credit. I'm like, wait a minute.
And that's obviously if you get a credit card and you run it up, like, it's not a good thing to do.
Yeah.
But there's ways to use debt to your advantage.
Correct.
You need credit to build your credit score.
You have to start somewhere.
You have to get a credit
Absolutely.
card.
Yeah, so then by the time you want to buy a house, now you're behind. It's going to take you 2 years to establish your credit.
Yep.
And these are things that affect your whole life. Like, okay, now you got to wait 2 years to buy a house as you're 2 years older. And then your credit isn't even that good. So now you're paying higher interest on a house. You're paying more than the average person would have paid just because you don't have the greatest credit. And so, like, those things over, however many million people, we're paying extra in interest. We're not able to own properties. And that's, like, a really big problem,
Yeah, it's huge. And I think the worst thing about it, like, I do credit repair. So people come to me all the time because they got credit cards and everything like that, and they weren't taught how to manage them. It was like, oh, well, I got this credit card. I pay on it every month, but it's over its limit. You can't do that. No, they just don't realize, again, the ramification behind it. One late payment on your credit can affect your score up to 192 points. Like, can drop your score like that. So, the things that people don't know, they just don't know. And it's more so, again, in our community, like you were saying, my parents never told me to get a credit card.
Absolutely.
They never tell me to, this is how you manage it. They never showed me how to balance a book or anything like that. So I think it's more so the education, kind of like what you were saying, just being a black loan officer and everything like that. It's a lot of responsibility, I think, that's put on our shoulders because you've got the outside looking at you like you shouldn't be here. And then you have other black people looking at you like, well, you don't know as much as the other guy.
Yes.
Or distrustful.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm going to go to this guy because, he's white or...
He's white, so he's right.
He's right,
It is what it is. That's what
then they come back 2 months later, oh, well, I had this, and that, and they took advantage of me. I'm not going to cook you up and eat you. I'm here to help you, at the end of the day, so a lot of times, when you get those objections and everything like that, I more so just say, what led you to think that having a mortgage was bad?
Mm-hmm.
What put a bad taste in your mouth to make you think that having a credit card was wrong.
And it's hard to deprogram that in our conversation.
Yeah.
You know, that's 30 years of everyone around you
whole
with
family.
that ideology is very difficult to break. But I think that
But those are the same people that's telling you to get a new car with spinners and all of that carried on.
Yeah,
Like,
you know.
let's stunt.
don't get me started.
I'm
'cause
gonna
you
get
know
you
how
started. I know that's gonna press your button. Let's go.
Oh shoot! I'm trying not to. No, because like I don't know. Like I want to also try to stay positive with some of this stuff because things are getting a lot better, and I think actually that's why I defend social media so much. Like because there's all this talk about like social media is bad, blah blah blah, but it is democratized information. Like we're able to do this, and you know, I might not have 1 million views, but even if 100 people like hear this conversation, it might affect a few
Right.
people to think a little bit differently. And, you know, like my YouTube channel, a lot of people actually contact me and will ask me questions. You know, I had a couple people ask me about like investing in Camden, New Jersey. And most of these people are black, like, or from Camden and stuff like that. I've worked with a couple people who, you know, have heard my content, and I've really taken an effort to help them, even though it's a struggle because some of that, a lot of people mean well, but I hear some when there's objections, it's like a lot of the toxic, negative financial information that is in the community. But it's hard. It's weird because like you got to understand. Like I know where it comes from, so I'm empathetic to it. But at the same time, it is freaking annoying and frustrating. It's like no,
I just want to do my job. Let's go.
Yeah, you really got to have patience, man, because it's almost like, you know, courting somebody. You know, you got to put that seed.
I don't know nothing about courting nobody.
That's another conversation for another day.
Another time. Another time. But it's kind of like you got to follow up on the situation. You know, it's got to have that reinforcement. I think, again, social media is doing a great job of putting the information out there. And, you know, this podcast is a great example of people that are putting it out there. So there's people that are being aware now. It's just we have to bring everybody else along and say, hey, this is here for us. You know, we have the opportunities. We have the space for it. There's the information's out there. Come and get it.